same thing. When putting them in your garden. There's little, I think like 2 or 5 pound bags. What should we be getting ready to, if we haven't started inside from seed, what are some things we can start in the progression we can get into of sowing directly into the soil?
Okay. Let's talk about veggies first, because that is more popular and probably a little bit more common than flower seed right now. Annual flower seed. I planted my spinach. I planted my lettuce. I planted my peas. Do some cole crops if you'd like, cabbage and bok choy.
Directly into the soil.
I do it directly in the soil. With the peas, I just soak them for overnight in water and then put them directly into the soil. With spinach and lettuce, well, I'll put a few seeds in. I do them in my entire garden is in containers, and we'll have to talk about the way I garden later on, and another 2 or 3 years or something like that.
Yeah.
But just put a few seeds in, and then you're going to thin them out later on. Plan on thinning them out to 6 inches apart. Anyway, 6 to 8 inches apart. Let me see. Otherwise, you need to wait. Tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, anything that will list on the package 90 days or more. You don't want to put those in. Radishes now is a perfect time. They're 21 days. So in another less than a month, I'll have radishes. So if something is 25 to 45, 50 days tops, you can put that in right now.
Okay.
Anything close to 90, you need to buy plants for. Anything over 120, forget about it. No, I mean, you can grow those, but don't expect a harvest until later on. Things like squash, pumpkins, you want to put in definitely Labor Day or even later.
Memorial Day.
Memorial Day, excuse me. Did I say Labor Day?
You did say Labor Day.
I'm sorry.
You're skipping the whole summer here.
I know it. Memorial Day is plenty of time, and even with things like squash, June into June is good, because the stem borers, the squash borers, their season will pass so that your vines won't be affected. So if you have borer problems in the past, one of the ways of doing that is to plant later, and there's plenty of time, especially with things like zucchini or whatever.
And plant how late?
Up to the 4th of July, really.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can put a lot of those in at the 4th of July, because the growth is going to be stimulated by the warm weather. They love that sort of stuff.
Yep. Well, I don't know if everybody can hear.
Is that a volcano?
Yeah, that might be a volcano erupting, or I think it's the local power center testing out their new Skag mowers.
Oh, okay.
Which are very impressive.
I know, that is something.
However, not too great for our recording studio here. But
so pay no attention to
anyway,
that roar.
I guess that's just the sound of spring, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, we're out there and everybody's ready to go. So I don't know, maybe it's picking up, maybe it's not. Cool. So
and flowers.
Flowers.
With the exception, flower seed, with the exception of the wild flowers, the hummingbird mixes, the wildflower mixes, I feel it's best to buy 6-packs like of marigolds and any other bedding flowering plant, because you have a lot of control over it. In places where you want a nice meadowy look, well then go ahead and scatter those seeds hither and yon, because that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, wildflowers are awesome. You can get mixes with varieties that are desirable for the hummingbirds, for the butterflies, and all other pollinators. So I think it's a great thing to put out there. If it's an area you don't care if it's grass, if you want low maintenance, put the wildflowers in there. You're going to enjoy it a lot more. Mm-hmm. And do a little, maybe even attract some pollinators to your yard to help the garden.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And, it's always a great thing to do in a spot that you would normally grow weeds. Well, let's grow a meadow,
Yeah. Sounds cooler, too.
Oh, yeah. I have a meadow.
I have a meadow out in the meadow. Cool. So, speaking of seeds, grass seed.
Grass seed. Yeah.
So now we are another thing. It's all about that soil temp. So when usually we have your lawns out there right now, it's starting to, when that forsythia starts blooming, it's starting to green up and come to life. You're not quite ready to mow, but this is the year that you're going to turn it into the ultimate turf.
This is, and it could be you that does this, definitely.
Right. It's very doable. I think the biggest thing with lawn care is just the consistency and more of the long-term approach. Right. You going to the gym, you're not going to get biceps by going in there once or twice. Yep. You have to do it consistently over a period of time. And it's a little bit more work to start, but then when you get into maintenance mode, it'll maintain itself. And you want to keep up with it. Because if you don't, then the less desirable stuff will come in there. And you want to help the desirable stuff continue to thrive and outcompete. Right. I think you just hit it right on the head.
Competition.
Yeah, it's a competition out there.
That's right.
But making it look the way you want.
Yeah.
You gotta let Mother Nature do her thing, and then make it so on those plants that you want, enable them to beat out the weeds and stuff.
That's right, because the weeds are there. They're just lurking. They're waiting for you to make a mistake and be lazy.
Exactly. Yeah.
But spring. There's 2 seasons to plant grass, because the grass seed that we plant up here in New England, except for zoysia grass, which is now you can see that very easily because it's the beige lawns that are out there. There's a Florida zoysia grass.
It's like a bright. It is a full zoysia grass lawn.
Yeah.
It's like someone went over it with a highlighter.
Yep.
They just stand out.
They do, and it's the mixed ones that really look ugly. And the fact is that zoysia grass, which I would never recommend.
I think it's illegal to buy, right?
Huh?
I don't think you can buy it anymore.
At one time you could. It was in every magazine.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, it's going to creep into your neighbor's yard.
It is a creeper.
It's a creeper. Yeah.
Yep.
And, in the middle of summer, because it's a hot weather grass, it could be drought season. It'll be green as anything. But, 8-9 months out of the year, it's just this sickening beige. So
a very, very bright beige.
Anyway, most of the good grasses that we plant here are cold weather grasses. They don't like the hot weather because, if we have a hot, dry summer and we don't water or irrigate, guess what? Let me take that back. I never irrigate, but my grass is always green because I have living soil. I have a lot of compost in there over the years. And there's only one section over the leach field that really dries out, and I'm working on that diligently to keep that alive and vibrant. But the rest of it works very well. So if you have the right conditions, the right soil conditions, and the right seed, the right plants there, and I'm talking about Jonathan Green's Black Beauty, or is it Black Beauty Plus now?
Or Ultra.
Excuse me.
Yeah. So the Black Beauty they're referring to their line of fescues that they developed. And actually, if anybody's interested, definitely shoot back to our second episode with Barry Green, the owner of Jonathan Green, and he tells the whole story of how they developed it. It's impressive, and it really is a standout, innovative grass seed breed.
It is. And the roots on that system go down up to 4 feet, I understand. It's hard to believe, but they're much deeper, and there's a lot of other advantages to it that you'll never see, but you'll really appreciate. Anyway, that's expensive seed, and you don't want to put that in spring. You'd rather put that in fall. At least that's my.
You'll be most successful.
To be most successful.
Yeah.
It's not that you can't put it in, but guess what? We have warm weather coming in, and if the grass isn't established, if the roots haven't gone down far enough, that dry weather in summer is going to, keep those from thriving.
Right. And both seasons were hitting a window. Just like our vegetable seeds that we start indoors and put on heat mats to get that soil up to 75, 80 degrees to germinate. Same thing with the grass seed. It needs to be a minimum of 60 degrees for that grass seed to germinate. And if you put it out early, it'll sit there, or it might get washed away, picked by the birds. You're just, taking the seed and leaving it out to the elements for a little while. But if you wait until you hit that 60, 65 degree mark, then it's going to be out there and it'll start germinating faster and spend less time sitting there on the soil dormant.
So if you want to fill in maybe a thin lawn or cover up some bare spots, the best thing to use for grass seed is an annual mix, an annual ryegrass mix.
Pre-65 degrees.
Pre-65 degrees.
So earlier in the season.
Yeah. As long as you can make contact with the soil and the soil's not frozen, you'll be okay. Right. There's a lot of mixes out there. Jonathan Green has a Quick Green is it called?
Fast Grow.
Fast Grow.
Yeah. Actually, it's one I always caution people on. I think I've mentioned it on here before. It's an annual rye, 63.8%.
It does have some perennial in there.
Some perennial, like 40% perennial or just under. But it grows fast.
Yep.
And it's green quick.
Yep.
But it's not coming back next year.
That's correct. Because that's an annual. That's what the annuals are all about.
Right.
However, by the time that thing is ready to die out, you're going to hopefully come back and overseed with the good stuff in August, for example.
Yeah. And to your point, right? Like, so you put that down there, and wherever that plant is, if there's a grass seed plant there, or a grass plant, a crabgrass plant, or some other weed plant, it's not going to grow.
It's going to think twice, yep.
It's going to think twice, right, before it comes on its turf.
Right.
So it's a weed preventer. You're basically putting out a weed preventer that looks great, and you can actually get some benefit out of it. And then come the fall time, that's when you want to put down most of your grass seed. Now, we should preface that, right? Because you hit this window of you're hitting 65 degrees in the soil, let's say early May. You can put down grass seed there and be very, very successful putting down grass seed then and have it established going into the droughts of July and August. So I'd probably say we're probably 50-50. I'd say 50% of our grass seed is sold and put down in the spring, another 50% in the fall. And you can do both.
Well, just let you know that I already put down my annual rye seed about a week ago before a rain, so I didn't have to water it or anything like that.
There you go. Yeah, use Mother Nature, right? We
and then the chickens came along and probably ate up half of it.
Oh, there's chickens.
I know.
At least they give you eggs.
Free range.
Cool. So yeah, so if I think putting down the annual, I think that's especially if someone who wants a more natural approach to weed prevention.
Definitely.
Use those annuals in the spring, annual seed in the spring, or if you have a wedding coming up, Memorial Day weekend on your lawn or property or a party, great thing to put out there. Fast Grow, Quick Green.
Think of the compliments you'll get on the 4th of July picnic in your backyard. Why, John, what a lovely lawn. What do you do? Well, then you can make up your story. But
yeah, you just got to get that seed down in the fall so it's there next year too. Or else they're like, oh, John, what happened?
That's
cool.
true.
Yeah.
So anyway, liming is a good thing to do.
The best thing
this time of year, and we have the quick acting limes, which are a little more expensive.
Yep.
Or you can go with the standard Dolomite limes, which are you almost have to put those on well in advance because they're very slow to
4 months to adjust the pH.
Yeah. So you're going to be well into summertime before it does anything.
Yeah. So you want a fast-acting lime. There's Jonathan Green's Magical, Agway fast-acting lime, and they're going to work anywhere between
about a month.
Magical is 2 weeks.
Really?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, that's like the Corvette of lime. But Agway fasting lime is 3 to 4 weeks. Anyway, that gets the pH going. So when you put down fertilizer, it's going to make that fertilizer more efficient.
Exactly.
Yeah, because what happens is you get too much hydrogen in the soil, and it bonds with the fertilizer you put down, and the plant can absorb it in that form. So you put down the calcium, bonds with the hydrogen, takes it out of the soil, gets that pH back to neutral,
right,
and then you're not wasting any money on that fertilizer.
And very close to neutral is where we want to be. Slightly acidic, 6.5 to 7.
Right, and yes, but if you get down to 6 from 6.5,
it doesn't take much.
Yeah, you'll lose 20% of your fertilizer, or up to. Yeah.
A peat bog is bacteria stop growing at pH 5. Peat bog is pH 3, and your stomach acid is like pH 1 or 2. 2, I think. Concentrated hydrochloric acid is 1. So, it's something to measure, and you should measure it. So, if you're at 7 or 6.5, you don't put down the lime.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I mean, we'd love you to buy it, but if you don't need it, let's not waste our money.
Right. And actually, that's the goal, right? You want to get to a point where what you're putting down is effective and it's efficient.
Exactly.
And that's successful, right?
Yeah.
That's success right there.